Okay, welcome back everyone. I'd like to introduce Peter Jackson. He's OT Cybersecurity Manager for SGS ECL. And Peter's going to talk to us about cloud adoption and edge computing. So, stage is yours, Peter.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Hello, can you hear me? Yes, I can see you. It's okay. Yeah, thanks, Dan. My name is Peter Jackson. I am the OT Cybersecurity Manager for SGS ECL. I come from New Zealand. I'm sorry for, I didn't understand much of the last talk, but I did understand Schneider. We work with Schneider as well as Rockwell, as well as ABB and Emerson and other companies like that in OT. And I look after the OT cyber team for ECL. And ECL is, again, supporting OT and industrial organizations. We support energy, utilities, water and manufacturing, transport and logistics with industrial support. We only do OT, but we do everything in OT. And yeah, my team looks after the security side of OT. We're often supporting GRC and risk. We're also supporting detection. I heard Dragos mentioned on the stage in the last talk. We support Dragos, Nozomi, Tenable, and technologies like that. And we provide strategic advice to our customers as partners in technologies like cloud and edge. When I'm not leading the team for SGS ECL, I teach for SANS. Who's heard of SANS? Anyone's heard of SANS? Training organisation, a few there. So SANS, I teach the 515 class, which is around identify, detect, and respond in ICS and OT environments. And I also have a passion for supporting the community. I think my boss isn't as happy about how many conferences that I come to and community events that I run, but I like talking about IT-OT convergence. I like talking about building good security communities. And today I'll be talking about cloud and edge, and with a lens on the work that we do with ECL and supporting industrial organizations. So I often find with many of my talks, especially on topics like OT and cloud and edge, we often have different ideas of definitions of what is OT and what is cloud and what is edge. I think cloud is a better understood term. I think OT is an evolving term. But again, for our talk, I'm going to kind of talk about these technologies in this evolving world where we're seeing these more and more for the organizations that we support and the work that we do. Again, we're seeing far more cloud adoption and edge adoption integrated into organizations that we support. And for my team, for industrial organizations that we support, and how they're going to achieve their outcomes for digitization and connectivity and doing business in a smart way with safe, secure, and reliable operations, again, with security by design to achieve all these outcomes. So if we start with cloud, again, the easiest definition, of course, I'm sure you're all familiar with, somebody else's computer. But I think it's been an interesting evolution of cloud within organizations. I think historically we've seen a lot of organizations move to a cloud-first strategy and moving everything that they used to host on-prem in their own data centers and in their own stack. They shipped up to a cloud provider, potentially straight as infrastructure as a service. I think the use of these technologies has evolved in an interesting way where organizations aren't just thinking about cloud first, but cloud focused and having that nuanced approach and thinking about where best should the data sit, where should they have infrastructure, where can they offload non-critical functions, and instead of running infrastructure as a service, maybe platform as a service, where you don't have to worry about the operating system, somebody else's problem, or application as a service, where you're not even worrying about everything apart from consuming a service, right? Anyone that's working in security long enough understands the myriad of issues that applications like Exchange have had when running on-prem, right? all of the issues that organizations that run their own Exchange servers kind of get mitigated in a way by moving to your Microsoft 365, right? Because you're now just consuming from an always secure, high reliability, high availability, high security potential solution. And so that aspect of cloud, I think, is an important one to consider when we're, again, working in a security role, as I'm sure all of you are with your attendance here at the Barcelona Cybersecurity Congress. I think the one thing that I think has evolved in an interesting way for cloud over time is the responsibilities for security. I think our top tier cloud providers have been on their own security journey. I'm sure many of you would have consumed the Cyber Safety Review Board's report on Microsoft and their security journey and maturity over time. I think, again, they're improving. I think all of our top tier cloud providers have better secure by design and secure by default. We see both of those being important aspects of security, especially the drivers from CISA in the US and the European Union and the variety of different approaches in securing cloud. And it comes down to, again, us as practitioners working in our organizations to understand what cloud security, good cloud security looks like, and turning on those features, making sure we've turned off those insecure aspects of cloud, regardless of whether we're looking at the application layer or infrastructure or platform. I think there's some interesting aspects, even just going down the cloud security rabbit hole. Where we kind of step from cloud into edge, right? And the edge effectively is where we're moving the data closer to the source, right? So, and the history of edge, we've had content delivery networks. So if you're consuming your YouTube or Netflix, it would be unacceptable for you to have to wait for the latency associated with connecting to an American server where that might be hosted, or somewhere in Europe where that might be hosted. So we get that push from that centralized server out to content delivery networks. We get that next kind of push out to more peer-to-peer operations, kind of in the 2000s region. I think one of the biggest examples of peer-to-peer edge computing at the moment is the Microsoft Windows updates. By default, all of your Windows 10 and Windows 11 machines will either receive Microsoft updates from the Microsoft Cloud or the Microsoft CDN, or by default, it will reach across the network and get it from the LAN, from within your ecosystem, right? We've got low latency, we've got less demand on the WAN, on the connectivity up to the cloud, and we see that peer-to-peer. When we look at a micro data center concept, we're again having that centralized data center and then pushing that out to local regions, local countries, local areas. So again, the whole premise about edge is that you're moving the data closer, so you're reducing your latency and reducing the burden on your WAN. And of course, in 2020, we're seeing a lot of edge computing and a lot of different use cases around what edge might look like when we're layering that into a technology. If we look at this kind of lens here from Toolbox, again, on our cloud side, we've got that computation all taking place up in the cloud. From an edge side, we've got that computation taking place much closer to the source, right? And with our edge, again, we're looking for about a 20 millisecond latency. I can imagine anyone here drive a Tesla, right? No? No one brave enough to drive a Tesla? Okay. That's a good example then. So if you were driving a Tesla, I think you would be unhappy if the vision system took that image, sent it off to the Tesla cloud, did the processing, sent it back down, and then applied the accelerator or the brake, right? That is not possible without edge technologies, without that cloud-developed neural network, that cloud-developed model, AI model, that's doing the vision processing so that it can happen on the edge, can happen within your car, and can happen with that low latency closed loop control. Does that make sense? When we look at some of the different aspects and elements of edge computing, again, we're seeing the field devices here, right? Operational technology, which is interfacing with the real world. We can see some industrial examples. We can see the car example. We can see some robotics. All of these different technologies can integrate with either a cloud or data center. Again, our edge doesn't require a cloud connectivity. It just requires some sort of close to the device, close to the data source implementation. We can do real-time data processing, and again, those basic analytics, the Tesla example. Again, CCTV is a great application for edge computing. Of course, we want all of our CCTV data stored in the cloud and archived and similar, but on the edge, we can do that real-time analysis and real-time processing to do intruder detection or image detection, or if we're in a manufacturing environment, we can do the detection on the conveyor belt to see how to control the robot. All of that can happen with real-time data processing, low latency with those analytics, often trained through cloud and through our data center compute, but deployed out to the edge. When we get our data caching and buffering optimization, again, that's looking at how can we make sure we've got that real-time data stream that can be quite high intensive on our data, and we can do compression, we can throw away unnecessary data, and we can ship that up to our archiving in the cloud and the data center and where we need it. And again, our machine-to-machine examples on edge, where we're looking to integrate different technologies and edge functionality. I'll talk through some examples of where we've seen this around the place. I think that VMware have done some really good things around industrial edge. You can see it's not super clear on this one, but on the left-hand side, we can see again, the cloud capability here. We've got the application store, so you can consume different applications which are tied in through that manufacturing edge. We've seen some nice applications for VMware. I think in OT, historically, the engineers didn't like Ethernet. If we look back 20 or 30 years ago, they said, we really like serial, we don't want Ethernet. And then they eventually came around to industrial Ethernet, and we've had industrial Ethernet for decades. About 10, 15 years ago, you asked the engineers and the automation, do we want to do virtualization? And they said, we don't want to do virtualization. We don't trust virtualization. We just want each server has its own box, and that's reliable, and we trust it, and go away with your virtualization. In 2024, almost all OT systems have some virtualization, and like it or not, VMware is a big part of how industrial organizations do virtualization. And so it's already quite often there, running the distributed control system, running the PLC automation system, running the different support systems in an OT environment. So we see with our industrial organizations that we support, how they can actually leverage these different technologies around industrial edge. And for example, thermal vision, for example, again, doing within the zone, kind of some agile factory concepts, and actually have, in some transport and logistics sectors, the virtualized PLC, the virtualized controller that's actually taking inputs and driving outputs. Again, we still have the cyber-physical interface. We still have physical I/O, but that might be Ethernet-based I/O with a virtualized controller, for example, and technologies like VMware can support these. If we look at Siemens, I think Siemens have done the most investment in the area of industrial edge. They have a booth here, 101. I'm not associated with Siemens. We're not a Siemens partner, but I have enjoyed seeing their journey in industrial edge and their investment in technology. I think there's a nice inherent trust relationship with Siemens when we work with non-security OT practitioners, our engineers, our technicians, our automation team. They like Siemens and they trust Siemens, right? So when we come along and layer in a secure by design and a secure by default Siemens Industrial Edge solution, then we can achieve some really great outcomes for the organization. Remember, in the industrial organization, their core business is the OT, and the IT is the bolt-on, right? The IT is just the business systems, but where they make their money is the OT. So having the leverage of data and connectivity and automation and optimization and the application of artificial intelligence supplemented by actual intelligence supporting outcomes for industrial organizations. I like what they're doing, and I think, again, it's going to be part of the future for a lot of industrial organizations and different deployments and different architectures and different technologies. Another organization that is here is Genesis. Tom's just over at booth 61. I was having a conversation with him before, and I added a slide in. I think I like what they're doing here. The Shifu is an open source edge solution, right? So you can go and consume that. All of it built on Kubernetes. So if you're familiar with Kubernetes, then it gives you some great capabilities. In terms of following the open source model, they've got the WireGuard providing security across the WAN and on the edge. We've got good open source identity management solutions integrated into design. Again, a nice flexible architecture. And we can see here, again, that integration with our Siemens PLC using our Siemens S7 protocol into an edge cluster device. Our sensor talking OPC UA or MQTT or even Modbus. We can integrate into a device here where we look at a camera example. Again, we can use the same authentication capabilities, but here we're looking at a camera application. I really like how it's been designed for scale. When we're looking at use of edge technologies, we're not just configuring 1 or 2 or 3 PLCs. We're looking at interacting with hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of IoT and IIoT devices. And so we need solutions like this that can scale. And of course, we want it secure by design and secure by deployment. I think having the right technology in place to support those outcomes is incredibly important for working with whatever your organization is. If you look at Edge Impulse, I'm less familiar with these guys, but they're here as well on stand 70. Here we've got, again, machine learning or AI at the edge. I think the integration, again, is a nice closed loop control, right? So we've got that deployment and the feedback into active learning all happening at the edge. So within that ecosystem, we've got that building, training, optimization, closed loop control. We've got the ability to scale in terms of the capabilities. I think understanding our edge resource requirements is going to be important. Understanding where we need to have either a low resource IoT device or maybe a bit more capability at the edge will enable some of these features and functions when we're doing those sorts of deployments. Again, Edge Impulse, for example, can tie into a number of different data sources and trained using a number of different data models. Again, this isn't necessarily an endorsement for this, but I think that these types of technologies are going to be important for your organizations going forward, especially if you're supporting an application in the service use space, especially if you're providing kind of internal consulting capabilities or external consulting capabilities. Understanding what the business requirements are and what can be possible when we're deploying solutions like Edge. I think the important thing here is know your requirements, knowing what your business is trying to achieve, and then knowing what tools are in the toolkit, such as Edge and the wide variety of artificial intelligence technologies to achieve those outcomes. I think there can be really good return on investment. I think most organizations have moved away from a security department of no. I think it's very easy to be in security and be a department of no that says no and is focused on security risk. my team extensively prioritise around business risk. Our objectives are not to minimise security risk. Our objective is to minimise business risk and achieve business outcomes with our lens on OT security, right? So I encourage you as security practitioners to have that mindset. How can you enable? How you can say, yes, this is how we're going to do secure remote access. This is how we're going to do secure detection. This is how we're going to do secure application management. This is how we're going to use secure edge and cloud. So those are some of the things that we think about when we're looking at kind of cloud and edge. I think the evolution of technology, it will only increase. We're seeing more IoT than ever before, and it will only go up. We're seeing more IIoT, our industrial Internet of Things, and it will only go up. I think we've got better technologies now than ever before around having security by design and by deployment and those things. I think a lot of organizations still kind of put security at the back seat, but more organizations are understanding the importance of having security at the beginning, middle, and end of the project and have that as an enabling function. I think that's going to be important for IoT and IIoT. It's going to be important for edge. And of course, again, we're going to see continued cloud evolution. I think the different technologies and platforms and options and products within cloud are going to continue to evolve. Our top tier cloud providers, our kind of second tier or our regional, our local cloud providers are all technologies that as security practitioners supporting infrastructure architects and engineers, we should be enabling and supporting. So I encourage you to work with those teams and ensure that we've got a good secure by design approach. I think we're going to continue to see digitization. We're going to continue to see technology evolve. I think there's huge benefits for organizations that we support and our roles that we play in supporting our organizations, our community. I encourage you to stay informed. I encourage you to have the conversations with each other, with the other practitioners out here. Some of the security aspects of the IoT side of it are really important. Not just kind of the Fortinet here and the other security vendors in the BCC part, but I really like the integration of the IoT Solutions World Congress with the Barcelona Cybersecurity Congress, because I think that security isn't in isolation. It has to be layered in by design. Again, speaks back to the functional safety work that we used to do back when I was an automation professional before I got into security. So I encourage you to have a think about those concepts, regardless of whether you work in industrial or OT, whatever your role. I think it's up to you to support and enable your businesses with this secure approach. Thank you very much.